Time it says. Dun, 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 dun. Welcome for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub back in New York this week. Are you doing, Seth?
Good. I look kind of very white for some reason.
Yeah, the
The lighting
camera's
is
like catching the light properly. You
yeah.
need one of these studio light that I have. This week's episode of the podcast is sponsored by our own merch store, the Electrek merch store at merch.electrek.co, where you can buy some high quality gears that are branded Electrek. And we even have our electric cars of note, electric car history of electric car t-shirt, and also a tote bag. So you can check that out at merch.electrek.co.
And I'm
All right, what
even
do we have for
modeling
you?
I'm
Sorry?
modeling the hat today. So
Yeah, you have the hat this week. Yeah, I'm supposed to get some gear. I'll be able to have that soon on the podcast too. I think I have a sweatshirt coming. All right, so we're gonna start out today with something that kind of like it wouldn't be big news if it's just the actual action that happened, but it's the context of the action that happened that is a little bit worrying. That's something that we've grown more and more worried about. Elon's outside of Tesla action affecting the company, and then we have like one of the clearest example, even though it's a minute one, the action by itself, but it is a little bit worrying. So, and it's probably what generated a lot the most talk this week around Tesla. There's a lot of other news that we're going to discuss too that are interesting, but this one, like you can see just from my article on it, 600 comments along this article.
geez.
People had a lot of opinions about this. So what it is Tesla remove Disney Plus from some of its cars. Boo-hoo. What are you talking about this, Fred? Why does it matter? I've never used Disney Plus in my car. I haven't either, and it's not that big of a deal by itself. It's the reason why they removed it, or what would the bit that we believe why they did it. So we had a source last week that reached out to us and said, warned us about this. A source from Disney on Disney's side of things, that they were like, "Hey, we Tesla reached out to us and told us that they're gonna remove Disney Plus from the app." Of course, we're like, "Oh, okay, like this is a new source for us," so we weren't sure exactly what to do with it. Tried to confirm the information, couldn't. Then Tesla actually, then a few days later, the source reached back to us and said, Tesla actually just reached back to us again at Disney, and they told us they won't remove the app completely from the Tesla Theater inside our cars, but they will remove it from anyone that hasn't used the app so far. So we're moved from Tesla. All right, we'll let it, people that used it use it, but otherwise we will remove it. And then we were able to confirm that, because that's exactly what started happening with an update earlier this week. So now, obviously, what's interesting here is the context, because no one cares about native app inside the Tesla Theater that much. But Elon, it looks like it's Twitter drama from Elon that is leaking into
Spilling
Tesla.
over.
Yeah, a lot of spilling over. And even worse than that, it looks like Elon is using Tesla as a revenge mechanism against Disney for something that Disney did that has nothing to do with Tesla. More specifically, removing ads from Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. So, if you're not aware, since the anti-Semite comment that Elon gave his approval to last month, obviously a lot of company reacted to that by removing their ads from the platform as a form of protest, and it's a form of protest. Like, let's be honest, they're trying to protect their brand. They know that people are gonna tag them on that. They don't want their brand associated with that stuff, which is kind of fair. And then Elon obviously went on that famous now New York Times interview where he was asked about it, and he actually apologized for giving approval to that anti-Semite comment. But then he backed away right away in almost in the same breath. He attacked back the advertiser, saying "f you" to them for trying to not taking hostage. What's the word that he used? He was like
Censor?
no, it wasn't in censor. It was like blackmail. It was you want to
Blackmail. Right.
blackmail me with advertising money, which is a weird way to look at it, especially when you just admitted that your comment was like, "I was not a good one," like, and then everyone like reacted to it the proper way, and you're like, "F you for reacting that way and blackmailing me." Is like, whoa, who said blackmail now? Like
And then also,
advertiser.
it was only Disney and that he attacked. Like, he didn't attack Apple. He didn't attack any of the other advertisers that pulled their advertising.
Yeah. So what happened with Disney more specifically is like at that conference, then Elon said, right after he said "f you" to the advertiser, he was like specifically he said, hey Bob, right after, and then looked at the audience because he thought that Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, was in the audience.
So weird.
Now, since then, Elon went on full-on attack on Disney, like just on Disney and Facebook, saying, "Hey, Disney still advertise on Facebook." A lot of very boring stuff, to be honest. But then this thing happened, which is like out of the blue, where he decided, well, wait, we cannot confirm it for a fact that it's his move, but the timing is just so strange that it has to be.
For sure.
So it looks like he instructed Tesla to remove the Disney Plus app from the store in revenge for that, for Disney pulling the ads and whatnot. And then I would assume that someone at Tesla had some pushback, and they were like, "Hey, this is kind of a move that is bad for our owners. Like, if we are negatively affecting our owners for a beef that has nothing to do with Tesla." And then I would assume there was some back and forth, and they compromised on, let's just remove it from the people that didn't use it. Now, what I'm more curious about is like new cars being delivered. So if anyone is taking a delivery of a new Tesla vehicle, if you can look at your Tesla theater and see if Disney Plus is in there now in a brand new car, because it's hard to complain too much about this if like you never use it, even though you could have maybe planned to use it at some point. Like,
It's
I don't know,
Christmas.
like,
You're going on a trip.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. What if you got the car this year and you didn't actually go on a road trip just yet? Like the reason to use Tesla Theater are somewhat like limited to road tripping and whatnot, and like staying at a charging station for a while, something like that. So yeah, there's definitely the core of this story that is very frustrating is that Elon / Tesla agreed to make the Tesla owner experience worse, even if I understand it's slightly worse, like it's maybe like a fraction of a percentage, for something completely unrelated to Tesla, for more specifically for a Twitter beef that Elon has with Disney. So that is the worrying part for a bunch of different reasons. It's worrying, like for the fact itself, like, okay, like what's the next beef that Elon's going to use Tesla to get revenge on whoever he's beefing with. So there's that.
I mean, imagine if it was Apple that he had a beef with. He could have taken, Apple, he could have started a war with Apple. He could, Apple could have removed Tesla's app from the App Store. Apple Music could be removed from Tesla. Like, there's a lot of stuff. Like, obviously Disney's not a big deal for most people, but we're looking at a problem.
It's also a problem of like, I mean, I've been defending Elon to some degree from the people that are like, all right, he cannot be CEO anymore for name it, whatever drama there was over the last 2 years. It can be a multitude, you can choose a multitude of them. I was always like, yeah, but I mean, he's still contributing to Tesla in a meaningful way. Like, this is one of those where like now it's a direct negative impact, even if it's the slightest one, and it shows potentially some like a state of mind that is very warped from the reality, like the warped reality. Like, it's not who in the right mind, especially someone as smart as Elon, thinks that that's a smart move. to use a publicly traded company that you happen to have control of to act revenge on another big company that like vexed you on your social media, private company, by the way, that you're the biggest shareholder of. Like it's a bad look. It's a very
problematic.
bad look. It's worrying. If you guys have any comments on that, you can put it in the comment section. We have a bunch of other news we're going to get to in the next few minutes. But then we're going to have some time at the end of the show to talk to you guys and to respond to your questions. So if you're in the comment section right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all that, we're live on all those platforms. You can put them in there and we'll get to them in a few minutes. All right, a little bit more positive news, even though I kind of a twist to it too. So we reported last week when we got the release note for the holiday update, and we weren't necessarily impressed by the quality of the update this year, but there was some cool stuff in there. Tesla sneaked in a little nugget that is has become now the biggest features to be added to the holiday update. I assume it wasn't in the original release note that leaked because of it's not for all vehicles, unfortunately. Apparently it's going to come to all vehicles in the future, but right now it's not for all vehicles. So it's finding that bird's eye view for parking assist. They're not calling it a bird's eye view, they're calling it 3D reconstruction. So it's based on the existing 3D reconstruction that you get from what people call like the full self-driving visualization, basically. But it's a lot more high fidelity one. So Ashok Haswami, the head of software for Autopilot, released this video of it here. It's pretty cool. So you see, it predicts where the lines of the parking are going to be and gives you a way more detailed 3D visualization of it. So it's the equivalent of a bird's eye view on steroid, basically. So it doesn't render the full vehicles like it would on a bird's eye view, but it does like what it needs to do to be able to use that as a park assist, basically. So Ashok said about it is that Tesla could simply add a camera to the. No, that's a comment. So this place, I tell you, I keep getting cut by these things right there. This replaced the 2D obstacle band the customer had with the high resolution 3D reconstruction of Tesla surroundings. This is an extension of our occupancy network. So the occupancy network is what the neural net that they've been using to replace with the Tesla Vision only vehicles, though that don't have the ultrasonic sensors. They've been deploying that to use as a park assist instead, and as a close recognition system instead of like the sensors that tell you, oh, you have like 30-inch before you hit something. So this is an extension of that with much higher resolution to help with tight parking maneuvers. I just explained. The obstacles are modeled as a continuous distance fill. This allows us to represent arbitrary shapes in a smooth and computationally efficient way. The vehicles you see are not some fixed meshes, but the network's real-time prediction of the shape. So that's interesting. But he also did say that this is only coming to Tesla Vision vehicles, so those without ultrasonic sensors, so Model 3, Model Y since 2022, Model S and X since 2023. He did say that it's going to come eventually to the cars equipped with ultrasonic sensors, but he didn't confirm a timeline, and I will not hold my breath for it.
Yeah, I saw some, I think it was on Reddit or something. The visual stuff wasn't rendering fantastically. It was kind of just big blobs everywhere.
People are getting the update right now?
Yeah, I saw a couple of people on Reddit. It didn't look like the I mean they got the update, then Tesla pulled it. But
no, but they restarted it in the middle of the night. They restarted uploading the update again.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I have to check my car.
Yeah, because I also got an update and then it disappeared. But yeah, so that's the update that we're talking about. So apparently Tesla started pushing it last night and then put it on hold and even recalled the update, and then they restarted early this morning or something like that. They started pushing the update again. So this is an interesting one, this update too, because you have these little goodies in there. You have the broader holiday update, but it's also the update. You're getting the new autopilot nags that comes with the broader recall, NHTSA recall that we talked about last week. You get that too in there. So a lot of people were planning on not updating their car with that for that reason. They don't want the additional nag. But now, if you want that audio update, you need to, it's in the same one. So you kind of screwed. So we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be enough to convince people, or people are going to upgrade.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the new nag feels like how intrusive it is.
Yeah, we need to know, because like we discussed last week, it's not that bad on the release notes. It doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look like it's nothing so super unreasonable, except for one comment that is more vague, and we need to actually see how it affects the frequency of the nag and how easy it is to have it go away and whatnot.
Yeah, and a couple of publications, I think Consumer Reports also said something about how it wasn't enough, even with the additional nag. It just isn't enough.
Well, they keep going back to the torque sensor on the steering wheel thing, which, I mean, it's something that we know for like 7 years, 7 years at this point. Like it's not something very new. And there is the cabin-facing camera now in the newer vehicles. So, and this has been pretty good for me so far. Like the driver monitoring from the cabin camera has been pretty efficient. It catches me sometimes grabbing my phone and it's like, hey, pay attention. It's like, yeah, you're right. You shouldn't do that. You should definitely not do that. Even just it catches you looking at the center display for too long too. So that's good. Yeah. So if it's more a use implementation, more of that, I'm fine. If it's the torque, again, I'm not a big fan of the torque detection, because sometimes like you even have to do like a little bit too much, and you can remove the auto steer, which is annoying. All right, this is interesting. The wireless home charger has been confirmed. So it was pretty much almost confirmed earlier this year. Tesla released this image here that seemed to show a wireless charger because of the pad here and this connector on the wall. But they showed that picture at Investor Day, and like they say, oh, there's going to be cool things coming. They show that, and then they don't say anything about it. Of course, they bought that company too, Wafarian, this summer, and then sold it right back. It was more like an acquire situation. They just wanted to get the engineers on board. So there was that, but then no comment at all until this Jay Leno video about the Cybertruck this week. So completely unrelated on the Cybertruck, but you had Franz von Holhausen, the chief designer of Tesla, that was in that drive, and he did mention that, I'm quoting here, we are working on inductive charging. You don't even need to plug anything in at that point. You just drive over the pad in your garage and start charging. So he confirmed that Tesla is working on that, and it is specifically for a home charging situation, since he mentioned in your garage. So it would be a home wireless charger that Tesla is working on. I don't know how excited I am about that, to be honest. I think it's going to be kind of a niche product. I think for the most part, because it's going to be expensive. There's no way it's not going to be like significantly more expensive than,
and not just expensive to buy it, but like if you lose 10 or 20% in efficiency, it's going to cost way more to charge your vehicle every day.
Yeah, but I cannot believe that Tesla would release that if they haven't figured out the efficiency issue. Like, because obviously if it's less efficient, then there's no reason to buy that thing. Like, it's like more expensive to buy, more expensive to install, and then more expensive to charge, but also like it defies the whole purpose of having an electric vehicle and being more efficient if you're just losing more power. So, and there are other companies that claims to have figured out inductive charging and say that they are close to like 95% efficiency, which is basically the same as a cable. Like cable also has some losses, which is around that 95% range. So I would until proven to the contrary, I would assume that that's figured out. Otherwise, like, it would be so stupid for Tesla to launch that. But even if it as efficient, so costs the same once everything is installed, The charger itself is going to be a lot more expensive because there is more hardware in there. You have the charging pad, you have the actual chargers. You need to install that charger on the wall, then you need to install the charging pad, most often in concrete and inside a garage. So this is a lot of work. Then you have the actual receiver on the car that you need to install. So that's more cost on the car. That's more weight on the car. All that to save yourself like a few seconds every time you have to just plug in your car, which really takes like 3 seconds. I know that adds up. Like if you do that every day, twice a day, for years, you can maybe save a few hours of your time. So if you're like
what happened to the snake thing?
Yeah,
I mean, they even
that
had a
too would have
prototype.
been expensive, to be honest.
They had a prototype.
Yeah, maybe that's gonna be the thing that's gonna make it to the superchargers once self-driving is figured out.
Right.
Because that might that probably be a better, because it's not too bad in your garage to have that charging pad inductive like that, but like on public roads, especially
you
like
need fast.
in places that the faster you get, the more the loss is going to make a difference too. But also places that have snow and things like that, you need to have a snow machine, like get the snow off. Like it's not ideal. Like you would break those things all the time. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this move, but we'll see what Tesla comes up with. All right, we get some better timing on the opening up of the supercharger network for non-Tesla owners, and more specifically for GM and Ford. So turns out that the timing of when the automakers announced their adoption of NACS as their new connector in North America matters for when their owners are going to get the adapters. So we get this information from a meeting at Forest City Planning Committee, for West City, which is in Utah. So Jenny Pretari, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but Jenny is the Tesla design manager of charging infrastructure, and she did a presentation at the planning meeting committee, and they asked her about a question about the supercharger that they wanted to install there, and one of the city manager or city council or whatever, we didn't know who has the question. He wasn't even on camera. Asked, is this going to be just for Tesla owners? And then Jenny responded that our first car companies, Ford and GM, are starting in February of 2024. Once they have the charge port, she probably meant adapter here, and software to interface with the charging station, they will actually be open to those vehicles. So she confirmed timing that the first adapter should come in February, and it's only going to be for Ford and GM. She had it after that the other the other automakers will come later. She said that we will be opening up to most of the other car companies in stages to make sure we don't get swamped all at once. So
I wonder if they're going to do it in the order they accepted.
I would assume so, because Ford and GM were the first two.
Right.
So it sounds like this is what really matters. Obviously, there's some like very smaller ones that I don't think like would have any impact at all. Like I don't think like you put like Lucid in there, like I don't think it would have a giant impact on the supercharger network. But still, this is interesting. So obviously, this is the adapter that is coming, and then in 2025, all new vehicles from these manufacturers will have the NACS integrated on board, so you won't need an adapter anymore, which is going to be nice. Today we learned that Tesla is officially launching the Megafactory project in Shanghai, China. So we know about the Megafactory in Lathrop, California. Obviously, it changed the game for Tesla, helped them ramp up production greatly for their energy storage division, more specifically the Megapack, hence the Megafactory name. Previously, the Megapack was manufactured in Gigafactory, Nevada. But Tesla moved the operation to this new factory and then ramped up the production capacity greatly. Not quite to 40 gigawatt hour yet, but that's what they are aiming for. And it enables Tesla to break new records for energy storage deployment every quarter. In April of this year, they announced that they plan to replicate that Megafactory in Shanghai, China. They had a deal with the Shanghai Linheng authorities. Which I think is again the region where it's it's the region where you can own the whole factory. It's not like the partnership type of deal. What do you call that? So I was going to say tax-free, but it's not that. It's
joint venture or whatever.
a free trade region or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So originally this was supposed to happen quite fast. The construction was supposed to start in the third quarter, and then production early in 2024. Now, today what happened was a signing ceremony for the land acquisition of the project, and they launched the actual project, the construction project there, and they say that now they are aiming for the end of 2024 to start production. So a little bit of a delay, but it is coming, and this is going to be a big deal. Obviously, it's going to help Tesla cut logistical costs greatly, because they're going to be able to send out mega packs for all the projects that are in Asia and in Australia, New Zealand, and all that from there, rather than all the way back in the US. And then they can keep that production capacity in the US for a project in North America. So it's going to be nice. All right, there was this report this week. Reuters, a bunch of report about Tesla. Negative one this week. This one was the more damning one, where they said that the Cybertruck is having a bottleneck being the 4680 cell, which was not what we were hearing before. So they say that Tesla is still having issue ramping up 4680 cells, and it's becoming one of the main bottlenecks in making the Cybertruck. So this situation here, it's kind of so. I'm not a big fan of Reuters, especially the Tesla coverage. It's generally seen as a very good news organization, but we've caught them doing some weird things regarding the Tesla reporting in the past, and the weirdest one has obviously been I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast before, but I assume we have. But for those who don't remember, they had this post that they said that Tesla is going to bring Chinese-made vehicles, sell them to the US. Then Elon responded to that post and saying that that's not true. They said it's a false. He said it's false. And then they back edited that articles to say, no, in Canada. They originally said US. No, excuse me. They back edited. They said North America, and then in the article they said it's going to be in Canada and in North America, like as if like it's going to be somewhere else than the US or Canada. So that's, and then they didn't update the post to say, hey, we changed that after Elon said it was false, and they just changed it after that. And then when they made a follow-up post a few months later or a year later, when Tesla actually started delivering Chinese-made vehicles in Canada, they referenced Elon saying that the original article that they posted was wrong, and they were like, "Look, we were right about that," and Elon said we were wrong. So there's something weird going on there. But I remember the actual original post, and I have all the receipts for it, and it's clearly that it's deceiving. So basically, they're looking. They showed there that they are more interested in looking like they were right than actually being right, and they are willing to deceive their readers into thinking that Elon was actually wrong on there when he was right originally. So I don't like that at all. And then, okay, you can say, all right, this is a one-time deal and everything. It can be, but I reached out to the 4 people involved in that article, and I asked them, like, what is this about? This is not right. This is not how you do reporting and everything. And this is coming from a blogger here, by the way. And none of them responded to my inquiries, even though some of them even followed me on X. And so they actually, like, you get notifications when I reached out, and they didn't respond. So they are completely ignored the situation. They are okay with what they did. So since then, I'm like, all right, like, this is obviously not up to par in terms of reporting. So I've been careful there. But in this case here, they claim to have 9 people at Tesla, including like Tesla managers and employees. We spoke to them on condition of anonymity, of course, because of the sensitivity of the matters. And they said that Tesla had yet to crack the dry coating and the industrial scale needed to make the 4680 batteries fast enough to hit its production targets. So that part, I think there's some validity to it. We know that Tesla has been having issues with the dry coating technology, which is a big part of the 4680 cell technology. And now, specifically in that report, they say that The problem is with the cathode, with dry coating the cathode. Tesla has figured out the anode, but dry coating the cathode is a problem. But in the same report, at the same time, I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird, because they say that the 4680 cell is a bottleneck, and now they're only producing enough to make 24,000 Cybertrucks a year. Then they say a tenth of what is required. That's a tenth of what is required at full volume capacity, which, regardless of the 4680 cell, won't happen until sometime next year. No, not even that. Sometime in 2025. So I don't understand the point of that. Tesla is with or without 4680 cells. I would be shocked if Tesla was producing the Cybertruck now at a production rate of 24,000 a year. So even if they were able to produce the 4680 cells at a higher level, why would they? They would probably be throttling down the production capacity in order to match the rest of the production, Cybertruck production. So I don't know about that report. I think there is validity to Tesla having issue with dry coating. I don't know about it affecting the Cybertruck in any meaningful way, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the scaling they have to do anyway is going to be very difficult to get to that number. So it kind of feels like, regardless of what problems may exist, they're going to have a hard time scaling to that number in the next year or so.
Yeah, and there's so many like new technology in the Cybertruck too that I think are probably bigger issues than the 4680.
Yep.
All right, this was a real bummer this week for Tesla employees. This is a report coming from Bloomberg that said that Tesla has decided to not give merit-based stock grants this year. So the compensation of employees following an annual performance reviews said that even high performers didn't get the merit-based grants. And obviously, this is a big deal because Tesla employees, Elon specifically has claimed that one of Tesla's biggest advantage is that they give out stock grants, stock options to everyone, and that has made Tesla's compensation extremely competitive with the rest of the market. So obviously, if they are not giving that out this year, you can imagine that it won't be as competitive. They also have received small price increase, but salary increases. But we've heard from Tesla employees that it's not significant enough to compensate for the inflation cost, which has been obviously crazy in the last 2 years. So this could be a real problem because Tesla, I think one of Tesla's biggest advantage is that it's their level of talents there. They have a lot of talent. And a lot of people want to come work for Tesla. So Tesla has a ton of application all the time. A lot of people want to come work there. But it's also like a big recruiting hub for other companies that want to make electric vehicles, everything. Like people, they recruit from Tesla all the time. So there's a lot of competition to retain the employees at Tesla. And obviously, if you're not satisfied with your compensation and then someone else comes in with an offer that pays you 20, 30, 50% more, which is not unusual, you might be tempted to go for it.
Should we read our tip that we got from a Tesla employee?
Yeah, we got a tip that you want to read from it?
All right. I work for Tesla as an engineer in the Bay Area. In regard to the Bloomberg article, we have been told that we would not be getting any additional equity grants for this year's performance reviews. Our pay increases have also been significantly lower than in years past, only 5%, and only happened at the end of November, months later than normal. This has had a severe impact with morale within the engineers at the company, since the increase in compensation hasn't made up for the amount of inflation. Over the last year, there has been significant more discussions at the bar, in quotation marks, between engineers about compensation than seen in the past, especially with a lot of high performers leaving for significantly higher pay by going to competitors. This is in addition leaving holes in certain groups that haven't been able to backfill. Newer employees also don't believe that their current starting equity will have the same explosion that those who have been with the company pre-2019 have seen. That's a good point. You cut your starting date is, the stock price. I think there was a post on one of the Tesla Q folks about how in the last 3 years since Tesla joined
the S&P 500.
Yeah, S&P 500, that it's only up 11% over the last 3 years, and that's obviously a lot less than some of the high flyers, even the big companies like Apple and even
Yeah, I
like
think the S&P
Google.
500 is up like 26% or something like that
Right, close to 30%. So
over the same period.
yeah, over the last 3 years, Tesla has not been the growth stock it was previously. Finally, the guy or woman says it's no surprise within the industry at the total compensation from Tesla is considerably lower than what other companies are willing to pay, but historically it has been offset by the increases in the equity part of the compensation between the amount of vehicles that are being sold by Tesla, the launch of the new and upcoming products, and the large increase of pay in other areas of the organization. There's a feeling by the group that are making Tesla money now and in the future that their work has not been appreciated. So that's if that's widespread feeling, and we don't know, it's a anonymous tip, then that's problematic.
Yeah, and the timing and everything. I think it's a high credibility tip.
Yep.
Yeah, it is worrying. Like I think that Tesla's talent is this biggest asset, and if they start losing it at a higher rate, there's a real concern. There's also like Tesla, even without compensation, a lot of people were like feeling like, oh, we're saving the world and all that, and we have a great leader and everything. And then now a lot of people have doubts about the leader, and it's not the same. So hopefully, because Tesla can get a hold of the situation, because I can see that having like one of the biggest impact on the company if they start slipping talent like crazy. But Tesla still have some great products, and this is one of them. This is very cool. Tesla Electrek is now celebrating its first year in Texas. The launch in Texas happened around this time last year, and some of the early customers are reporting their situation on the new electric utility platform, basically, and I think it's impressive. So we have this guy RJ from Texas here posting, basically. I don't know if I can show that directly here. Yeah, if I do this, probably like this. Anyway. All right, so this is a statement. So you can see like he signed up in December 15, 2022, and first month didn't have to pay anything for his bill. I should say, like, what is this guy's system here? So Tesla Electrek. This is actually is like basically like the VPP, the virtual power plant. But instead of just responding to specific events like the VPP does and offering grid services during those time from decentralized energy assets like power walls and solar system, it's the whole your entire electric utility is on that plan, and the utility will sell electricity whenever it makes sense for your own system. And this guy here in Texas has a 12 kilowatt solar system with 3 power walls. So it's a lot of power walls, especially for a system of that size. Because like you have like a bigger system than that, right? Well, what's your system? You have 2 power walls, but you have, what's your solar power system?
I think we have 14 kilowatts.
Yeah, 14. So yeah, so the first month, $15, but it says negative here, so that basically you don't have to pay anything. Like your electric bills is free, and you actually make $15 in credit. Then the only month where I had to pay the grid was in January, February. So January 12 to February 13 had to pay $12.44. Then from there, it was all just bigger and bigger, and the system kept becoming more and more profitable for the homeowner. And by the end of the year, ended up with a credit over $1,000, almost almost $1,100. So the Tesla Electrek basically managed to help the owner optimize his solar system and power wall to make his entire electric bill disappear. And on top of it, gives him $1,000, which you're able to cash out at the end of the year. So it's not worth like keeping those credits. Like if it keeps going at that pace, and in Texas, I think it's gonna get probably worse before it get better. It's not worth like stacking up those credits, thinking that you're gonna use them on your electric bill at some point. You probably won't. So I think this is awesome. Like this is when like people have been talking about the smart grid forever. Like a smart grid is coming, it's gonna change everything. Like, but it's always all right. Like we have these smart meters and whatnot. Like this is what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about a smart grid. I'm thinking about like decentralized energy asset, like energy storage, like power walls or otherwise, solar system, and you put them together and you put smart software behind it that send the electricity where it's needed, um, when it's needed, and you compensate the people that invested into those energy capacity. So if it's an electric utility and a large scale solar farm, wind farm, or hydroelectricity dam, or large scale energy storage with power walls or mega packs or any other batteries, then that's them, that the electric utility should be compensated by that. But if the homeowners decide to do their own investment, and obviously you have other advantage to that, like power walls can also save you from outages, then yeah, you should be compensated for that. It makes sense. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And in Texas now, of course, it's a deregulated market, so it's get pretty crazy sometimes. So especially in the summer months, the people running their ACs like crazy, put a lot of power, put a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on the grid, and then they are willing to pay a lot more for power. So if you have some extras, and RJ here in Texas had plenty of extra, and it was making like between August 14 and September 13 made like $700 worth of credits. Pretty crazy.
It would be interesting to see if how like Bitcoin mining is, you make a few pennies here and a few pennies there based on the equipment you buy. It would be interesting to see if you could kind of turn this into a gaming situation where you get a few bucks for some extra solar panels and battery, and then you add a little bit more, you get a few bucks more. You kind of, if Tesla can get that same gamification that happens with like Bitcoin mining and other like little money tricks, I wonder if that would be.
And if you had your own miner, like
you could
do that. But not only that, if you could connect it to the Tesla electric system too, like, because the biggest cost of mining is the cost of electricity, and so that it takes to make the computations. Tesla Electric could tell you like, all right, right now your extra power that your system is producing makes more sense to send it to the grid, because the grid is going to pay you a lot for it. Or if it doesn't make sense right now, the grid it pays you peanuts for it because it doesn't need the capacity, send it to your miner instead, and like the miner is going to use it, and that's going to make you more money in crypto. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm not a huge crypto guy, so that's a little foreign to me, but it would be nice to just send that to the grid and make money off of that. But I get it. You're not going to make a ton of money, during when energy is cheap, middle of the night type of stuff.
All right, we have two more news items, and they're basically the same news. It's just they work together, and then we're gonna get into your guys' comment section. So if you have any question for us or any other subject in the EV world that you want us to discuss today, put them in the comment section right now. We're getting some comment from X. This is new from last week. There's only since last week we're getting X comment too, but on YouTube and Facebook we get them also, and LinkedIn too. All right, so we've been talking a lot about the dealer problem with the EV in the US. Like, this is an issue. Like, dealers have recently shown, and for a while now, themselves as being an obstacle to EV adoption rather than allies. Not everyone. There's some good ones out there. Don't send me the emails like you always do. But it's been a problem. And now you get some great example. A few weeks ago, we talked about the letter that they sent to the White House, saying that to slow down the EV regulations because they're not selling well. Now you even have dealers that are opting not to get into the EV programs of some automakers. So you have Ford dealers. Ford this week confirmed that only 50% of their dealers have opted into their EV programs. So Ford and most of the automakers have programs where if you want to sell their EVs, if you're a dealer, you're already an existing Ford dealer, but you want to sell their EVs, you need to make some investment into some charging infrastructures and some training for your employees and all that, things that make a ton of sense if you're selling electric vehicles. And a lot of them had pushed back against that. They don't want to invest in that, whether for financial reason, they don't want to invest the money, which like that I can understand if they are strapped on cash or whatever. But a lot of them, they don't want it because they don't believe in electric vehicles, they don't believe that it's going to work and all that. So this week they confirmed that only 50% of them are getting into are confirmed to sell EVs in 2024. So that's kind of a bummer. I thought it would be much higher than that. I knew for sure there would be some holdouts, but 50%, it's
yeah, that's no good.
But
Although,
okay, so I'm reading here about the cost. So it's $500,000 it costs to be certified. So it's no joke. It is a lot.
it is a lot, but like, that's kind of the feature. Although I have to say, like, why does a public DC fast charger cost $500,000? Like, they're expensive, but that seems like excessive.
Yeah, $1 million for elite tiers, which is another charger, some demo units present on Fords.com. Live. It sounds like Ford is also like trying to get something out of it too that have
Right.
nothing to do
They're
with
They're
EVs.
clearly trying to get something
Yeah.
out of it. Maybe they should lighten that up a little bit.
But they're not the only one with this problem, because Buick this week also had a similar issue, and GM is a little bit more aggressive with those. They are buying out basically half of Buick dealers over their EV plans. So those that don't want to invest that money, which is a lot cheaper for GM, as $300,000 to $400,000, they are getting buybacks. So 47% are now being bought back. Almost half of the Buick dealers are being bought back by GM because they don't want to invest that money into electric vehicles. So a big cleanup for GM too. All right, should we jump into the comment section?
Yep. All right. We start off with Fred Ora sending the bird to Elon.
I don't know you can do that on YouTube. You can put the bird on YouTube like that.
Richard Cool says Elon needs a self-imposed gag order. Carl in San Diego, Disney news is nothing compared to the bombshell from Reuters that Tesla gaslighted their owners, telling them that dangerous failing control arms and broken drive shafts were owner abuse. Elon made his text lie to customers about the safety issue.
Yeah, I mean,
that's straightforward.
I read this whole report, and like I don't know, like it looks like they're using service report as proof of that, and it doesn't exactly work like that. Like Tesla has all its service report public, and I looked at them, and it's like I don't see where they say that Tesla knew about an issue. It's more like when they get an issue from a customer, they send it out to that service system, and they all know about it. So like they know, okay, like so they can match issues and like, oh, this is the solution to this issue. So you could claim that, yeah, they knew it was a problem on other cars, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's a defect. Like we know, like NHTSA actually investigated that suspension issue and didn't found any problem. Now, I'm not saying NHTSA is perfect and might have missed something and whatnot. Like that's possible, but I don't know about that report personally. Like I'm not sure it's.
Did it feel like last week, like everybody was coming after Tesla? Like maybe it felt weird, right? Like I don't want to get conspiracy theorist on anybody, but it just felt like a lot of negative news came out. Like there was multiple recalls. I mean, that's obviously, National Highway Safety Board, but a lot of negative Reuters and Bloomberg reports. It's kind of weird. Did I lose you?
No, I'm right there.
Okay. All right. Kind of weird. Moving on. Jonathan Root picked up the EV9 last week. Pretty impressed with the build quality and space. Software is Kia's limitation. Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's the limitation of a lot of automakers, unfortunately. Yeah, those Android Autos and Google and Apple Car and all that, they cannot come soon enough for those that are not willing to invest enough in software, unfortunately. But yeah, but congrats on your EV9, though. That's a nice car.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if there's anything weird or exciting or whatever. We're waiting for our review as well. Tesla users with the new safety updates have proven you can cover your driver-facing camera and it ignores the safety protocol. Have you tried that?
That would be new because I think that previously you couldn't do that. You couldn't cover the camera. it would give you alert. But I'll look into that. That's interesting.
All right, one of those stories we covered this week. The Netherlands has installed many solar bike paths. It seems like a great idea, although the Netherlands doesn't get a ton of sun. It'll be interesting to see the data and how much energy it generates. They've had solar roads planned for a long time. It's just making the model work. All right. If you have multiple EVs, moving a single cable from one car to another is easier than moving each car over a wireless pad. I guess that's assuming you only have one pad. I mean, eventually, I guess you could have two pads, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if it's more of a niche case, about eventually a lot of people are gonna have multiple EVs, I would assume. But yeah, I don't think that's the main issue. I think the main issue is like how much you're saving time versus the money more than anything else.
All right, Spikes 43 question: any word on what to expect from Rivian Q2 refresh? I'm hoping for better vehicle to load and heat pump. Both of those things sound really good. I expect some efficiency stuff. I think they're going to kind of double down on their dual motor thing. There's really like when they got rid of the tank turn, there was not much reason to have four motors. So I think they're going to try to get more efficiency out of that. I don't know. What else would you like to see from Rivian, Fred?
I mean, you know more about it. You're an owner. I didn't read too much about the refresh. I read more about this week their plans for the lower tier vehicles. The
New plant.
cheaper. So is it more? So it's going to be a hardware refresh, right? It's not going to be like.
I mean, it sounds like it. Nothing's been announced yet, but
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's not going to be a totally new looking vehicle. Just probably going to be
too
some
recent
improvements inside.
Yeah.
You know, and as far as the vehicle to load thing, I think putting right now there's like a 20 amp 110 volt inside there. I think they make like the Cybertruck and the Ford F-150 Lightning, and they put a
Yeah,
Nemo
they need
1450
that.
in there.
They need to do that.
All right, Glenn Sullivan, I have a from Twitter, from X. I have a 17 kilowatt system in New Brunswick, Canada. There are no Powerwall installers here.
Yeah.
What will I need with Cybertruck to have a backup? So can you actually use the Cybertruck to kind of not like if you don't have a Powerwall to back up your
It
solar?
sounds like you can. It's you need a gateway and or a Powerwall. So it sounds, but my worry is like if you really have your eyes set on the Cybertruck in New Brunswick and there's no Tesla Powerwall installer right now, like is likely not going to be any gateway installer either. So that's more of my concern. Like there's none in Quebec too. At least there wasn't when I installed my Powerwalls here. Had to come all the way from Ottawa in Ontario. So obviously this is an option, but New Brunswick is even like a longer distance from Ottawa. So
there's none in like Halifax or anything. I mean, I feel like isn't part of Tesla's big battery research stuff and.
Yeah, but it's battery cell. I don't think it has much to do with the installers. But yeah, I mean, I would ask Tesla about this and ask them to have installers there. It would make sense.
All right, Electric Brian says, comment, people should be able to install any app you can from the Play Store or App Store. What I really want is Sirius app. I would actually pay for premium data if it had that. Well, you'd probably have to pay for it. But yeah, Tesla's talked about having an app store for a while now. Or Elon has, at least. Carl in San Diego, yes, Seth, you can game the electric sales market, but importantly, the federal tax credits for residential solar and battery are for personal use and not for overproduction and profit. Arbitrage is greed. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to waste any energy either. So there's a lot of energy waste. Like if you're using it for crypto, like it's you're gonna waste it otherwise.
And if you are, you can just buy it without federal tax credit and not have to think about that. All right, Pal Jamie, electric vehicles are not ready. Electric vehicles still catching on fire. And of course, he's from Facebook.
Yeah, that sounds like something.
It's your uncle.
Great.
It's your great uncle.
Great uncle is going to write on Facebook because they see something. Yeah, Paul, Jamie, I think you should inform yourself a little bit and find out that driving around with a highly combustible gas in your tank is also problematic if fires are concerned for you. And those vehicles that work on gasoline actually catch on fire at a much higher rate than electric vehicles.
All right, Carl in San Diego talking about the Reuters headline: Tesla blamed drivers for failures of parts that it long knew were defective. Memo sent to technicians globally, instructing them to tell customers that broken parts on their cars were not faulty. That's
it's not as simple as that. Like again, you're talking about a service notice there, and it gets sent out like whenever there's a new issue with a car that's find out, they send that out to everyone. So it sounds like that's what Reuters got. So that's why I'm confused about like the validity of that report.
All right, then he goes on to say Rivian is the worst efficiency. Period. They need to fix that. Only thing worse is Hummer. Well, then I guess it's not the worst efficiency, but also Rivian's not that inefficient. I get more miles than they say that I'm going to get, which is weird for an EV.
Yeah, they don't game the EP system as much as others. So
right,
looking at you, Tesla.
So yeah, Cybertruck power sharing is not finished development yet. Vaporware. All right, well. I think Tesla's going to be able to figure that one out. Like of all the things that Tesla can figure out, using their cars as batteries is not going to be a hard one. All right. Also, thank you for covering the Tesla electric stuff. That is super interesting. Not as flashy as the cars, but I completely agree. This could grow value over and above cars. Yeah, Elon had said one time that the electric portion of the site or the company may be as big as the cars. And then we have a response to Uncle Powell, Jamie, that on Facebook, at least they only catch fire 1/100th as often as gas cars, which we have no idea if that's true, but I know it's less than gas cars.
It is definitely less. There's so much fewer of them too, obviously, but on a rate, the catching rate, I should say. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to the show this week. We appreciate you. If you did enjoy the show, if you can give us a like, a thumbs up, whatever it is on your app right now, it is super helpful. It's free to do, and it helps the show tremendously. And we appreciate single one of you who does it. We have one more show before the end of the year. Yeah, we do. So we're gonna be coming next week with the last show of the year. We're gonna try to make it a fun one for you guys. We appreciate every single one of you. Have a safe weekend.